he worked with John for 4.5 years. And what do you say about him? One sentence, and then you can go into your
If I had to describe him in one sentence, honestly?
in one sentence.
Well, the kindest, most compassionate, funniest human being I ever met.
He worked with, and,
Quintessential police officer.
right.
If we could clone 35,000 John Caramonicas, what a great job it would be. And, as you know, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I thought my wife was there. Before I forget, I'm going to read an email that was mailed to me this morning by a fellow named Ray Alt, who was a police officer, came up at probably around 75, 76, well, no, maybe a little later. And but Ray grew up in the 4-H precinct, and he comes up to John. John didn't remember him, didn't recognize him because it had been years. But it was a very sad story. But this fellow, Ray Alt, thanked John, and when he heard of John's passing, he sent me this to be read today. He said, "Hey Tom, I was very sorry to hear about John's passing. Please relay my sincerest condolences to the family. Please tell them there were these 5 children living in a top floor apartment on Bryant Avenue in the early 60s. Children I clearly remember having no telephone in the house, banging on the neighbor's door to get John the cop to come and stop the violence in the house and to save my mother's life. They called and he came. It was John's treatment, handling of us in the late hours of those evenings, to include placing my handcuffs on my father's wrist twice, something he wrongly apologized for, John, to me later on in a radio car that we shared on patrol. And in the block room. It was he who made me want to be that savior, that John the cop. Yes. And save those 5 kids. May God bless John the cop. I think that anybody who knew John, you knew him personally, we knew him professionally. And I'm not going to tell you any stories here. I remember Ted Kennedy's eulogy of Robert Kennedy, where he says, "I'm not going to make my brother more in debt than he was in life." And what I tell you here, what I say about John is the absolute truth. Some of it will be poignant, and most of it will be funny. Because we're not here to mourn, Tommy said, we're not here to mourn him. We're here to celebrate a life. And thank you for this. You know, I did 35 years in the NYPD. Only about 4.5 were spent with John. But it was the best time I ever had. You know, it's like I said, he was what every police officer, every person should be about. And I learned early on, we were riding, we're up on a concourse, it's the end of the midnight, and we're just kind of waiting for the last couple of minutes to whittle away and we can go into the station house. And along comes a obviously homeless looking gentleman who's approaching people, asking them for change or a handout. And he's coming up to the radio car, and I'm thinking, no, he's not going to do this. He's not going to have the audacity to ask us. And he did. John's on the passenger side of the street, and he says, "Officer, can you spare some change?" And I'm prepared to say, "Hey, take a road, hit the road, pal." John goes into his wallet, takes out a couple of dollars, and gives him a couple of dollars. And I'm saying, "What are you doing, John? You know, you probably got to buy a bottle of wine." He says, "Tom, we just made a friend. And this guy, you never know, down the road, cop might be in trouble or something, but we made a friend." And that was what John was all about. So his generosity, his compassion, couldn't, it really enlightened me. And when I made sergeant and beyond, but even telling the rookies about what police work, it was not only about making arrests. It was about not only protecting people, but helping people whenever you could. And that's what John really did as a police officer. He was the Holy Name Society delegate, and there was another fellow who lost a child, at her senior prom, an only child, Tommy Riley's daughter, and she gets killed in a car crash. Who talked him off the ledge? John. If it wasn't for John. And that was John. But that's enough of the flowery stuff. I'm going to tell you some of the funny stuff. And well, he was one of the strongest cops I ever met in my life, in my career. And I found that out on the first day that we worked together. When here comes a car down 170th Street, a hill, crossing the double yellow line, driving fast, erratically. I'm driving. I pulled the car over by Claremont and Park Avenue, and fellow gets out of the car, nasty, and not a big guy, but about my size, but about 30 pounds, 40 pounds lighter. And John's is writing out a summons, and this guy is calling John everything under the sun, and including things about John's mother, who he never met. And John's the senior guy. I'm waiting for John to hit his threshold, as we all would recall. We have, my veins are starting to pop out of my neck, and I'm ready to, clock this guy. And John tries to calm him down and says, "Listen, you're only getting a summons. Take it easy." The guy wouldn't relent, kept going, curses, profanity, everything. And John closes the summons book up, and we're right at the curb, and he just gets out, and he hits this guy like that in the chest, and I got scared. The guy flew like 10 to 15 feet into the garbage pails and immediately surrendered. I'm sorry, he's apologized. We put the handcuffs on him, and we put him in the car. I go into the front seat, and you never know in police work, and he has a loaded gun.
Oh, no.
Loaded 38, right under the front seat. There it is. You never know. So our first tour today, it was my last 4 to 12. Got my ODO with it too. That's a personal. Pretty fast in my day. If I could catch him, John could cuff him because he was powerful. Another thing, John was an old-fashioned guy. He came on in 1960. He wasn't. I came on in 68. He was a generation where cops always wore their hat. He always wore his nightstick. And one night we go up on what we would call an aided case, where an ambulance is coming, and the police were dispatched automatically. And we go up, knock on the door. A woman answers, and I said, "Somebody's sick here." And she says, "Yeah, he's sick, all right." That was her comment. Where is he? So she points into the living room, and here's a guy laying on a sofa, face downward, but looking out at us. So I'm only about maybe 6, 7 feet away from him. I said, "Are you okay? What's the matter?" With that, he jumps up with 2 knives, and he's coming at me. My training is to, take the gun out, step to it was either one of us were going to get killed, but John saved either one or both of our lives because he always carried his nightstick. And I didn't, if you're going up on an aided case to help somebody that's sick, I didn't carry my nightstick. I didn't wear my hat either, but I had hair. Caramonica's not so much. Sorry, but your dad told me, he said, when I dream with hair. And it's nice to see those pictures with hair. But John takes the nightstick up, and he, like the D'Artagnan from the Musketeers, bing bang, knocks the knives out of his hand, and we have him under arrest. and he saved. I was ready to shoot, and I would have been justified. John, I'm going to tell you, John's mom. What a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. When John, when he lived up in Dutchess County there, he used to spend a lot of days. Where's Ann?
Right here.
You're right. Oh, okay. You remember this. And come home on his last tours. But he would sleep at the mother's house, and she would make sandwiches for, a dozen sandwiches and bake cookies and cakes. And he'd come in with, and he'd feed the whole station house. I must have put on about 15 pounds working there. And the only problem, man, do you remember what was the problem with dog hair? Dog hair. Well, she had 2 dogs. Look, I don't think there was ever any cats.
There was a cat.
Oh, but I'm taking the jar. I'm taking shot. Here's another one. It's baked into the cookies. Well, one day, John, we go over his mother's house for lunch, and he called. She's expecting us. Big spread, and he introduced me, Mom. This is my partner Tom. He's the guy that finds all the dog hair. I wanted to climb underneath the woodwork, and she's apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I watch. I be careful. That was John. I had to kick him, punch him, or something. Which takes me to. Ann asked me if I was going to tell the story, and I said yes. The roach story. Well, there were roaches. I don't know how the Caramonicas don't have roaches in their house, because the tenements of the South Bronx. It was as if they were raising them. There was and we walk into this one house apartment, and they are crawling. There's millions of cockroaches crawling over everything, and we're there for a past burglary. Someone stole her TV. I said it's probably the roaches. So I'm like this, walking down the hallway, looking at the ceiling, and your husband goes in there, and he sits down on the couch, like he was in his own living room. He's there, taking up. And I'm looking at him, so we leave, and before I let him get into the radio, I said, turn around, I'm dusting him. But he knew I had an aversion, a phobia, roaches, who doesn't? So this one night, we go on a deal where a woman dies in her apartment, and she's actually found by one of her children, and there's 3 children, but they're all grown, they're adults, they're in their 40s or so, and we're sitting with them. We have to wait for the morgue, so it's so they're sitting on a sofa, 1, 2, 3, and John and I are on chairs, and we're facing them, and behind the sofa. The roaches start to walk up the walls behind them, and I'm and John knows it, so I'm talking with him, and with that, he goes behind me and starts to touch me. I leap off of this chair. Almost hit the ceiling. And that's what's John's there laughing. And I got so enraged. Here's the 3 people. I'm punching him. Anyway, that's another road story. And you remember the garage sales that he went to? Saturdays, Did you go to the estate sales, garage
No,
sales?
he and his
I
sister
drove.
went.
I drove.
Yeah.
We had a station wagon. I used
And
to put them in the back.
he would come back with all kinds of
Crap.
things. You know, from kazoos, these were got to buckets and, you know, whatever. Well, one day, he comes back with a parrot, what it looks like a parrot. It's a plastic parrot with felt on it, very colorful, and it's the mid-70s. And does anybody remember the police show with the parrot, the guy who used to wear the parrot? Anybody know the name of the show? Loretta. So this thing had it like had a perch that wrapped around your arm, and you could walk with the parrot. So if you don't believe me, there it is. The picture is right there. We go down to the Shriners Day Parade, which used to be a great parade in New York. Now it's down in Philadelphia, right down Central Park. And it was about 5 or 6 of us and Sergeant O'Keefe, God bless him. There's about 100 cops, and we would call muster up. And you would be dressed like this, you know, straight. It's about 4 deep. And John's next to me, and he's got the parrot. We're wearing uniforms. That's the parrot. And here comes the captain walking along. And he goes up to Sergeant O'Keefe, and he says, Sarge, what is that? What does it have on his shoulder? And he says, which? The one with the parrot? And the captain doesn't know who's crazier. And he just keeps walking. John wore it the whole tour. We had Columbus Circle, and only John could get away with this. Here he is. He's in the New York Post. He's got the parrot on his shoulder, and he's on the Channel 7 and the Channel 4 news. Now, if that was me, you know, I'd get a phone call. I'd have to go down to the police headquarters, and there would be some kind of a trial. But John got away. That was John. Another thing that Lindbergh, I'll tell you this is real quick. He would always come in with things. One night he comes in with the Lindbergh cheese. And we had a vestibule. You come in from the outside, and it was about maybe 12 feet, 15 feet, and then there was an uncle before you entered the station house. And there were radiators there, big radiators. And so John takes the Lindbergh cheese, it's December or something, puts it in all the radiators. And he said, what? So we sat down and we just watched. Guys are coming in. But it wasn't long. You know, a couple hours later, the station house came alive at about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. People were coming in, and the whole station house stunk to Lindbergh cheese. But that was John. The story I have, which was one of the most amazing days I ever. Probably the most. It was the most amazing day. Actually, probably the day I met the Pope. That's another story. But John comes in with a buzzer. It's like about the size of a pack of cigarettes with 2 wires sticking out. And he goes behind the desk and he gets a walkie-talkie battery and he places the 2 wires up against the electrodes of the battery, and sure enough, it worked. Like this. All right, that's nice. But he also comes in with he bought 2 of the hideous pairs of sunglasses that you ever would not wear. It looked like something out of Star Trek. They were gold lame, all gold, and they wrapped around, and the glass part, the shaded part, was one complete piece. There was no break in the nose. It was like something out of Star Trek. So we come in that night for midnight, and our assignment was to go report to the 23rd Precinct on the east side of Manhattan. The marathon was the next day. So we drive down there, and he says, all right, he says, your job is one thing. not to laugh. Keep a straight face. Very often that was good. John had used to wear this leather jacket. It was part of the uniform. I didn't like it because it was heavy just to begin with. It was a thick leather. It probably weighed about 15 pounds. Well, John had another 15 pounds or 20 pounds of gadgets. You need a socket wrench holder. You need a Phillips head screwdriver. He was like, so anyway, we go. He's put your sunglasses on. So we walk into the station house with the sunglasses on. Salute the desk. We're here for the detail, marathon detail, and everybody stops doing what they see these two guys. All right, so I'm just go in the back with the rest. So we walk in the what we call the muster room, and so there's cops from all over the city in this room. So we sit down, and John's alongside of me, and we've got our sunglasses on. Nobody is saying anything, they're just looking at us, and then all of a sudden, John reaches in his jacket and he pulls out a phone. Yeah, hold on, Sergeant, it's right here. So I can believe it. And guys, people are just in awe. So we get our assignment, and it was like 113th Street from 1st to 2nd Avenue. Our assignment was to make sure there's no parking on the block. There were about 5 cars, but there was a social club there. And John went in and told them they move the car by 3 o'clock or something in the morning. Anyway, so we're hanging out, and down the block comes a fire truck, one engine company, and they go inside this building. So he says, "Come on, let's go down." We amble down, and there's one fireman's outside, and he says, John asks him, he says, "What do you have?" He says, we have a gas leak, report of a gas leak. He says, "Okay." Well, we go in the hallway. He says, "Play along with me, don't laugh. Get the sunglasses out." So here we go, we get the sunglasses out, we go and knock on the door, we'll walk in, and the lieutenant there from the fire department is looking at us. He says, "Who are you guys?" Because John says, "Gas detection unit." Yeah, they started a new unit, gas detection unit. We got the sunglasses. We look like we're looking for radiation. And I'm there biting my and John goes over to the stove with something. And all of a sudden you hear John tells him, he said, "Lou, you got an odor of gas over here." And he's going over around the kitchen. So we're walking out, and the lieutenant says, "Where are you guys from?" This is the gas detection unit. He said, "Never heard of that." He said, "This is really something great. This is unbelievable." And John says, "Yeah, all right." So we get out the building, and he tells the lieutenant, "And by the way, Lou," he says, that was the beginning of the night. The night it continued on. It's now 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning around there. And I'm on the curb side of the car, and I kind of closed my eyes. The cars are all gone from the block. We have mission accomplished here. But I can smell water. I'm like, I can hear it. And I kind of wake up, and the street is like a river. There's water washing down the block like crazy. I mean, not a little bit, the whole block. I get out of the car, and there's Johnny Boy. He's got one hydrant on that side, and he's got the other hydrant. So I walk up and I said, "John," and I'm just about to say, and here comes the sergeant's car. Now, the sergeant was Stoker. Remember Stoker?
Oh,
Was a,
yeah,
he came
yeah.
as a lieutenant before, but he was a hard-nosed, no-nonsense type of guy. No sense of humor. And I said, hey, Lucy, you're going to have some splaining to do. But only John could get away with it. Really. So Stoker gets out, he says, what the hell is going on here? Look at this. He says, Sarge, what's tomorrow? The marathon of today. He says, it's going to be broadcast internationally, all over the place, nationally. He said, the streets were filthy. I just wanted to wash the dirt. And Stoker says, really? Yeah. He said, you know something? You guys, I can't believe what initiative you have. He said, you don't have any cars parked in the block. Go home. Go right. He says, don't go back to the station house. Just and he dismissed us at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I said, how do you do this? It's amazing. You just. But that was John.
What about the thread?
Oh, the thread was all the thread. He loved bringing in spools of thread and wrapping the station house in thread, or even people. It was like he was like Spider-Man before Spider-Man. He had these big commercial spools about thread. I just, it's funny. My daughter called up. When I went home, I told Jerry about John's passing, and my daughter calls up and. Jerry says, John's old partner died. And she says, oh, which one, because I had a couple, Bill Callahan and Freddie Faye. And, she says, oh, you must remember this one. He's the one that pulled your tooth. And, oh, yes. My daughter was about 5 or 6 years of age, and she's got a tooth hanging. Looked like Kukla, Fran, and Olive. Exactly close to something, with that one tooth hanging out. And she wouldn't let us touch it. John's over the house, and he said, and he says, no, he says, John, remember, John always never liked giving change out. He always liked collecting change. And his pocket, we have a pocket full of change. And he bribed my daughter. He says, let me just touch your tooth, and you can have all the change in my pocket. And my daughter says, okay. Actually, here's the tooth. I gave all the change. Oh, she remembered. We heard a little bit of laughter and a whimper. It stayed midnights for most of the time. And the car stops, the door opens, and the guy gets out, and he's only up to here. It's like he's on the half of a basketball. But he was driving erratically. And John, we're not going to give him a summons, needless to say. But John tells him, he says, you better slow down. He says, because I give you a summons. You go to court, you're not going to have a leg to stand on. I looked at him. How can you? I'm talking about compassion. But that's, he would come out, and whether it was at the prayer group or whatever. But I remember one night, it's the winter time, and we're coming up Tremont Avenue, going east on Tremont, just by Southern Boulevard. And here comes a guy, turns the corner, and he's got a bicycle about this big, and on the bike, he's got a box. And I pull over. It's nothing to do. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and lightly snowing. And so, where'd you get this? And when I always found that when they repeat what I asked, there's something wrong, something afoot. So, where did I get this? Is there an echo? Yeah. Where'd you get this? Was this yours? I found it. Oh, okay. Where'd you find? Right around the corner. So I says, really? Okay. So I'm asking him questions, but John is noticing the bike track in the snow, the light snow falling, and he says, "Well, Tom, let's follow the bike." So he had Daniel Boone type of tactics, and we actually followed this bike from Tremont and Marmion almost, down north on Southern Boulevard, up Daly Avenue, over to Bronx Park South, into a building, and where this guy had broken into a storage room for an apartment building and stole, and these were all Christmas gifts. So, that was, John was a great, what do you call it, mediator for family disputes. He was, you'd get these family disputes, and people, they were loving each other at one time, but man, they hated each other at this point, and they're calling each other names that I never even heard of. And with John's tactic was always, all right, he'll take the guy, I'll take me up the girl, we'll talk to them and try and. So John would always tell the guy, listen, you want to stay here, right? Yeah. Because the lease is in her name, but he's been living there for a period of time. So John said, all right, I'm going to yell at you and tell you, just bear with me, just allow it to happen, and she'll probably feel bad that I'm talking so rudely and nasty to you. And it worked about 99% of the time. John would go, and if I ever catch you, you ever touch this lady, and she's a good lady, I'll come up here personally and I'll beat you. Okay. And then all right, it was a marriage. But not this one time. John was giving it to the guy, and the guy's taking it. The guy says, he explodes. He said, "Don't you talk to me that way." So then John straightened him, and John threw the guy out of the house. And it was never one time that we, I think it was like December 23rd, family dispute, and we go up there, they're fighting like crazy, and John has the guy, and he finds out from the guy that he has an engagement ring for the girl. So John comes up, Tom, he tells me about it. He says he's convinced the guy did the engagement ring. So we put them together, and he says, I wanted to give you this for Christmas. And he shows her the engagement ring, and she melts in front of us. And it was great. It was love in the Bronx. It was, and they're happy with us, and which was unusual, because usually you always leave one person that's unhappy, but they were both happy. And then it was, I think, December 28th, we get a call. I said, John, that actress sounds familiar. Well, she must have had the ring appraised. He let me take all the arrests. All the arrests on the midnights meant I went to court after the tour, and I got the overtime. I had 4 children, a house that I couldn't afford, like many of us, and if it wasn't for John allowing me to do that, I don't know how I would have survived. And in fact, when at the end of 1980, I got promoted to sergeant, and I took a drop in salary. My poor wife had to go out. She was taking in kids. We were babysitting to supplement the loss of Paramonica. But, that was John, and I will.
End it there.
Yes.